and welcome to a very late in starting Gooners Open Mic podcast, season 5, episode 76, called Four Undefeated. So yes, we're on our way. Only 45 more games until we can finish off this next string of 49. I apologize for being late. I completely lost track of time. I was on with Soph and Amanda on the Highbury squad, kind of doing a promo for tomorrow night's special show, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And the next thing I knew, I looked up and it was eight minutes after the hour. So haven't done one of these in a while. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I hadn't felt like it after some of the Villarreal debacles, but it's always fun to be back. And we were going to do it, win, lose, or draw. Fortunately speaking, it is a win, although one very, very last minute. So lots of things that we can possibly talk about today, ranging from the new kits, which we are undefeated in. The lineup tonight, of course, Martinelli on the bench, Ceballos, not Aziz on the bench, Bellerin not in the 18, Xhaka not getting the start. We can talk about Leo Messo, who's my favorite new player. I forget Balogun, forget Muller. I'm going straight to Leo Messo, the Kenyan 10-year-old starlet. Why he wasn't in the 18, even in the 11, I have no idea. We could talk about some of the VAR reviews, the red cards that should have been red cards, the goals, the VAR, the Effin Okoku, if you're here in the U.S., and his ridiculous commentating about, fouls being fouls outside the box but not inside the box, or early in the game, red cards versus late in the game. Lots and lots to talk about. So we'll start today with the first person coming in from the Red Room, breaking his duck on the Gooners podcast. It's Murph. Why he's not wearing a shirt, I have no idea.
I promise you, if we pulled out a win, I'd come on in shirtless glory, and here I am, man.
No, I
make my debut.
I could actually see you in the little waiting room thing, and I couldn't tell because it's a much smaller picture whether you were just wearing like a skin colored shirt or whether you were just topless. And I'm like, you know what? I'll bring him on. Doesn't matter.
Topless.
Gooners podcast, we go topless. Kevin Murphy, formerly of Chicago, now of the Arlington Gooners, a man who I miss dearly because we're used to seeing each other at the pub. We're used to. If this were a normal day, we would have been. Did you get handed a drink?
Yeah, it's my 2-year-old daughter.
Oh, I was gonna say, is that your shot of a Fireball right there?
Well, I got a shot of milk to go with it.
It's always nice. So where are you then? Where I mean, obviously you're at your house, but I mean, what part of the world is that in for everyone that's listening?
Yeah, so we just moved out to Dunkirk, Maryland. So we live out east now. Yeah, and actually it's nice. We got some property, and it's no Chicago, but I'll take it for the time being. But
well, we have one of your old mates, I would imagine, from Chicago that will be joining us. Hello, is it?
Saoirse's coming.
Now,
hi.
Now, I want to make something clear. I have given certain people who have also taken to doing live open mic shows recently some flack for having under 18s on their podcast. But those under 18s are asked by this particular host not to tell their parents that they're on. So I'm going to basically just say that the fact that we've just had a child on the podcast in front of that child's father. So I'm assuming you're the father.
I as far as I know, and to be fair, she's been in Four Courts many times, as you know. So
that's true. I've seen you wearing a papoose with her in it, but I still didn't know for absolute sure whether you were the father. So
well, yeah, no, and that's a fair question always. But like I said, I'm never up for Father of the Year, but I'm just working on Gooner of the Year. That's my goal.
There's room for that. So let's talk about today. The last 9 months. I mean, whatever. The floor is open to whatever you want to talk about, Mark.
So the first thing I wanted to address is after watching Zaha's terrible performance and just whining to the referees, it just made me so glad we dodged that bullet. I mean, there were so many people who wanted him on our squad. Remember, just a couple years ago, and
one of those people, coach.
Yeah. And I honestly, for one, am glad that he wasn't, because it's players like that we don't need more of. My biggest concern right now is watching Oba, and he's not showing that confidence that we need out of him. And I don't know what it is, but we need to get him back in the right mentality, because he has the prowess. It's just he's lacking the confidence. And you see when that deflection came off his off his ankle, it wasn't like he even tried to strike the ball. I don't know.
Well, I mean, statistically, he has the 47th best ankles in the Premier League. So I don't know really what you were expecting from him, but look, I hate these people that are like, oh, I said from day one, blah blah blah. Although when I get something right from day one, I'm usually become one of those people. But like
we all do.
Zaha, I've been to a number of Arsenal for whatever reason. Whenever my once or twice a year until recently trips to London have been, we've had a game against Palace. I've been at some of the worst away games against Palace, and every time I've seen the same thing from. He's a cheat. He's obnoxious. I don't care that he's a gooner. I've consistently said, and you could probably check my Twitter timeline, I didn't want him on our team.
No.
Was he better than the alternative when we had Walcott and Iwobi and all that? Probably, but the Pepe Zaha thing. The only thing Zaha had, in my opinion, that was better was that he was already bedded into the Premier League, and you feel like he wouldn't have any kind of issue going against Burnley or West Ham or any of these teams that you have to kind of even sometimes figure out, because he's been in the Premier League for so long. But don't like the player, don't like his game, and in the time since we've signed Nicola Pepe has outscored him 2-0 in the games that we've played against them. So
I would say it reminds me of his on the pitch behavior is very reminiscent of Drogba, except
without the talent of a Drogba.
Well, I'm just saying attitude.
Well, and he may very realistically have been mentored by Drogba, given the national team, and I mean, he probably tries to pattern it, but more fancy footwork, more going to ground to get calls. Drogba, I mean, look, hating him for what he constantly did to us is one thing, but I respected him as an incredible player. And Zaha, I have almost no respect for, unfortunately.
That's true. And Drogba off the pitch was one of the greatest football leaders off the pitch, and so much respect for him there. But going back to on the pitch, his attitude is constantly questioning the referees and the officials. To me, it was just, you see a lot of that in Zaha, and you're right. He doesn't. It's more lackluster. He has less of the skill of Drogba. But still the same attitude issues, and I can't stand to watch that. So for me,
and how many goals does he even have? He's got 11 goals in the Premier League. That's not a bad total. I mean, it's better than many of our goal scorers have this season. But it just I don't know. I don't feel it. So in light of that, I think Pepe is really starting to show amazing confidence. Would you on a scale from 0 to 72? Where do you rate Pepe right now?
That's tough. Maybe around a 36 to 38. I don't know.
Which is great, because that's about what we've paid for him so far. I can't wait to see him play next season.
Right.
I think he needs to be nailed on. It's going to be weird though, because assuming we only have one game a week, which isn't that safe of an assumption at this point, but my internet has been acting up all day today. Am I back on?
You're back on. So
my internet's been absolutely.
Yeah, no worries. My question to you is, what are your expectations coming out of the summer transfer window?
A lot of sales.
Yeah,
I'd like to see Bellerin, Xhaka,
yep.
Mainsley, Willock, That's a controversial one. I'd like to see these guys moved on.
Are you
if we can get
Burnt Leno?
Bird Leno is we call him Bird Leno on the pod here, and I'll show you why in just a second here. That's our goalkeeper, and because we know some people like the ostrich version better, that's Bird Leno.
My bad.
I could go into next season with Bird Leno, but I would also understand if we want to, if there's an upgrade available on him that isn't going to prevent us from getting a partner for Partey.
Yeah,
that's not my first priority.
He had a great match today. I don't think, you can't fault him at all. But at the same time, is he where we need to be in the top four, to be a Champions League team?
I'm starting to buy into the fact that he's error prone enough that no matter what we do with the back four, that he's probably going to need to be moved on. But again, that would be maybe my third, if not fourth, major upgrade that I make this summer, not my first or second one. So, Kat, we're going to move on. We got other people in the red room. It's great to see you, shirt or no shirt.
Always.
I mean, and the shirt's over your shoulder, a la John Thompson. Just to show that you could be wearing a shirt, that you own a shirt, but that you chose not to wear one.
I don't know what it's like where you are, but it's hot today. So,
well, where I am is inside in the air conditioning under a ceiling fan. So yeah, I don't go outside in this because then I get gets super red. So anyway, Murph, it's great to see you. Thanks for breaking your duck on the podcast.
Take it easy, bud. We'll talk soon.
And I hope to see you at the pub very, very soon.
Saoirse, you going to go to the pub with me? That's a yes. All right, buddy. Take care.
All right, take care. Broke your duck. All right. Next, we have. Well, first, let me give a couple of quotes from Arteta, and just in case our next guest wants to talk about them. Although I know he's just going to want to talk about Willian. Turn your shirt around so that the name is in the front instead of the back. Martinelli actually came out and said, "I'm always ready to play. When Mikel needs me, I'll be there. We have brilliant players, and we believe we can qualify for the Europa League. We need to go there and win the next game. Go there, I guess, back at home at the Emirates." But Martinelli sounds like he is not frustrated, which is nice to hear if it's actually true. On Martinelli from Arteta, he's very close to starting. He needs to keep fighting to be closer and closer. We need to understand where the boys are in their phase of development. They're going to earn the chances. It's a joy to have with us. So, Rich from Ohio, is that a positive sign, or is it just more lip service on the Martinelli situation?
I think it's positive. I'm thinking we're going to get him involved more. And I mean, he scored a great goal to pull us out of the depths of that 1-1 draw we were in. And there is no Willian shirt today. I'm actually sporting last year's Tierney shirt.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a good one. I think does this? No, I don't think this has Tierney on it. This year's does, but well. So now that we've won this game, are you ever wearing the Willian shirt again, or is that going in the?
It might get retired. I don't know. It's probably going to get retired.
I've spent the money on it, so if you throw it away, you're not going to be hurting my feelings.
It's not going to be thrown away. It may get retired in the closet with the couple of years ago shirts that I don't wear. Unless I decide there's a week I need to wear an Arsenal shirt every day, and that fits into my 6 of. I still need one more, but because you do laundry every day. I mean, when I have 6 different Arsenal shirts.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, if you do destroy it, just make sure you contact me so we can do some sort of a thing
like a live stream it.
Yeah, you can live stream it.
There we go. No, it's
yeah, Mikey Hers, jump on if you can, because my internet's so crap that I might just crap out at some point. I don't want to leave these guys hanging, so we're gonna bring Mike.
Yeah, you weren't in the chat while we were waiting, and Murph actually asked how long do we wait, and I said, about for a Willian goal. He says, I don't know if I have that kind of time commitment.
Yeah, Murph's very impatient, but he's a good guy. He is one of the more fun people to watch a game with at the pub, and he's a pisser. So what do you want to talk about?
Just
any particular players or?
Yeah, well, Yeah. Now, well, Willian, yeah. I heard he might be going to Miami. That's good. Get him out of Arsenal and in MLS.
Yeah, you don't have to talk about Willian if you don't want to. I was just playing
No. No, actually, I was impressed with their goal was. I mean, I'm looking at it going, oh, he's offsides, and then I'm looking at it going, oh, wait, no, he wasn't. The guy next to him was. So I mean, it was one of those weird goals that they made a good cross, he hit a good header. Bird Leno had no chance, but I thought Bird Leno played pretty good today. Other than
Yeah, he was a good bird today.
Goal. Yeah, he was a good bird.
And you can't fault him really for that goal. I mean, you've got to fault whether he was offside or not. I'll take their word for it that he wasn't offside. Whether he pushed down who was it that he pushed down, El Neni or not? I mean, there's a lot of chicanery going on in those situations,
right?
But you can't let the guy that far in. They were trying to play him offside, and if you're going to do that, you got to get it right.
They shouldn't have given up a free kick in that position.
That's the other part of it.
Dumb foul there.
Give up enough of those. In the game.
Really, he should have got a red card.
Yeah, so let's talk about that.
Because he should have got a yellow for the hit on Saka, and then when he got involved with El Neni, that should have been a second yellow, making it a red. I don't think it was a straight red, but I think it was two yellows.
You don't think the hands to the face in a confrontational manner in that situation should have been a red? I mean, the rule to me is fairly clear that if you're face to face with somebody and you touch his face or neck in any kind of like an aggressive way, that's supposed to be a red card. Whether it should be or not, whether punching someone in the face is any different than the forearm shiver elbow thing that he did, it's debatable. But it's supposed to be one of these things that isn't supposed to be like handball in the box. Or that's not even right. That's not a very good example. It's supposed to be like goal line technology, whether it either happens or it doesn't. And if it happens, it's supposed to be a red.
Right, but I mean, I can still see it. It should have been. I mean, even if it wasn't a straight red, which that's what VAR says. Okay, well, our faith in VAR, because how many times does it cost us a game? But the
answer to that is 12. Cost us 12. We should be third place in the Premier League right now if it wasn't for VAR.
Well, we should be 10 points clear right now.
Yeah, we'd be 10 points clear of City right now. Welcome, Mikey.
My math, personally. I'm a little foggy. I do Spanish math, but I think
I was just about to say that, but then I decided not to.
I know.
Wow.
I was I'm not going to go there. And he went there.
But today's win does keep, that slim thing that I in my career of being an Arsenal supporter have not yet seen. And I don't know that I want to jinx it by mentioning what it is.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, it could happen, and so here's the question.
I'm not gonna jinx it by mentioning it, but it could happen.
Yes, and here's the question, and we're gonna ask this, and then we're gonna move.
No problem.
If that thing happening that Saint Thingingham thing that you don't want to talk about happens, however, the result of that is that we finish 7th, and they finish 8th. And we're in the Conference League. Would you rather that than the flip side of that, where it's 7th and 8th the other way? We avoid the Conference League, but we don't get the thing that you aren't going to say.
I'd rather. I guess in that case, I'd rather see the Conference League. But if actually that happens, I'd rather see Everton get a point or get a win and they get 7th, we get 8th. So,
if you want the 8-9, you don't want the 7-8.
I don't want the 7-8. I don't know. I don't. That Conference League, it doesn't do us any favors.
No, I'm torn on it. I've said, Mike, I want. Hear your opinion, because if they would treat it as a glorified U23 thing and Arteta not even go, like if he just handed that over to Steve Bold, then I'm fine with it. But that's not going to happen, and therefore I don't want it. But Mikey.
No, I was going to say the plot thickens a little bit. I just read that if this, again, we're talking about astronomical numbers, like we don't know if this is going to happen, but here's another one. Chelsea, if they finish out of the top 4 and win Champions League, 7th place gets Champions League. I mean, sorry, fifth place. Sorry, fifth place.
Seventh place gets Champions League.
So we'll drop. So technically, seventh place will get Europa League.
I don't.
Do we root?
I do not think that that's
in the
true.
Champions League final.
I do
I was
not
just
think that
following
that's
the stream
true.
right now, trying to figure this out myself.
Yeah, I think that would be true. I think I agree with hers.
So Leeds United at 10th is Champions League for sure at this rate. I mean, by this maths that we're doing.
I could be wrong, but I believe that there are a maximum of 7 European spots. That the 7 European spots.
So nobody would go to the Conference League.
Include the Conference League, given that Man City won. So I believe that if Chelsea wins the Champions League but finishes outside of the top 5, I believe that means that 4 goes to the Europa League. That's what I think, especially if Manchester United win the Europa League. So I don't think that there's an extra – I don't think there's 5 Champions League spots, 2 Europa spots, and a Europa Conference. That's where I am. Danny, who usually knows his stuff, 4th gets Champions League, 5th and 6th Europa 7 Conference. If Chelsea finish 5th and win it, it would take away a Europa League spot from Chelsea and place them into the Champions League, but it won't affect 7th place. Thank you, Danny.
To answer your question, if Arteta treats it like a training thing for the youth team, I guess I'm going to say I don't mind it at a lack of better words, but to be completely honest with it, what is the fan perspective in that? Like, if you get into the Conference League and then you blow it and you don't win it, because I feel like when you're in it, if Arsenal doesn't win it, it's gonna become anotother argument to beat the crap out of the manager. Right?
And if they win it,
have well-mannered, tempered.
If we win that, it's going to be like winning the Emirates Cup. I mean, which we sometimes aren't able to do. But that's going to be a. I don't think that's the discussion that we need to be having. It's whether we want to play in it or not.
But under or over the Audi Cup? That's my concern.
Better than the Audi Cup is absolutely. Audi Cup's under the International Champions Cup, which takes place in America, Singapore, China, and everywhere else. So we're going to welcome Scott in. Rich, thanks for joining us on the post game. Hope to see you next time. Our last one will be Sunday. So if you're inclined to join us on Sunday, an hour after the game, we'd love to see you. Take it easy, Buzzy. Right. Buzzy.
Catch you guys later.
Take care.
Mike,
what's up, Scotty?
Magic Mike and not Magic Mike.
He's magic. He's magic. He's just not as magic in the particular same way.
I'll tell you though, Mike. Seeing you and Murph together, I'm like psychically transported to Wilson Boulevard.
Yes, I know. I mean. It must have been weird seeing Murph in Arlington anyway, given that you used to, you sent him. We didn't even have to give you Alexis for him. We just got him on a free, and you guys have suffered for that. But
actually, I'll tell you what though, like he actually personally created a couple of other new Gooners before he left that have become regulars at the Globe. So we actually got transfer value for Murph.
And then he came here and he personally created a new Gooner that we just saw on the screen tonight.
Right.
I thought you were basically just coming out with some information that he had kids before he actually got married and
I mean, had a kid. That may be true, but I'm not aware.
I'm glad he's not on the stream anymore because and if his wife is listening, that because I personally created some Gooners.
The day that we can't talk about the day we're not allowed to talk about St. Something's Day. I was at the Four Courts for the last one of those.
Was that the day that they lost to Newcastle 5-1?
Yes,
10-man Newcastle 5-1?
Yes, when 10-man Newcastle put three goals by him. And here was the funny thing about that day. Now, you guys have your post-match tradition with Fireball, which is way better than our Chicago post-match tradition.
The Malort.
But my flight back home after that wasn't until like 7:30 at night. So I had the better part of the afternoon to kill. I got so messed up at the pub with you guys that I spent the better part of the afternoon sitting on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial with a bottle of Diet Coke and a bag of chips, sobering up before I went to the airport. That's how deliriously happy that day was.
That's a good place to sober up, I would say. But did you try to sit in the big chair with him, like on his lap and
No, I didn't do that, but I like the fact that, you're in the shade in the afternoon, so it was nice and cool, and I just sat there sobering up before I went to the airport.
I regret there are days that you don't. I live 40 minutes from the pub,
Right.
by car. When I go to the pub, more often than not, I'll take an Uber, and it's expensive as hell, but it's worth it because I ain't driving home after watching an Arsenal game at the pub if I watch it the way I normally watch it. But that day I took a pass on it because I was so angry. I was annoyed that we had essentially, that was the year that Leicester won the title.
Yeah.
That we had thrown it away. I was like, there's nothing to go to the pub for. This is ridiculous. So I didn't go. And then as this was happening, I was like, can I still go? Should I still go? Because the thing about our pub is, unfortunately, it is not just a pure Arsenal pub. There are two other fan bases there that bring relatively sizable crowds, and they're in different areas of the pub. One is Chelsea, the other is Spurs. And so Spurs have that corner, and from what I heard that day, they were all just talking the biggest shit until the game started going sideways for them, at which point, by like the 70th minute, they were all gone. They don't like to stick around and take.
That day, there were about 5 Newcastle people there.
Oh, that's good.
So we were buying them drinks.
Oh, that's one of the days I feel badly about missing. But
yeah, so I've got 2 themes from today that are sticking with me. One of them is I am trying to reconcile Benteke staying on the pitch with the Xhaka and Pepe red cards from earlier this season. For all the legit criticism we can levy at Arsenal this year, we continue to be just a fantastically unlucky team. We lose 70% of the 50-50 decisions. What?
That's kind of you to call it luck. I mean, how much
money
did PGMOL send you?
Well, sometimes it's just flat out, BS. But, it seems like we come out on the 30% side of 70-30 on 50-50 things. Every mistake we make gets punished to the harshest possible degree. And, we get guys sent off for sneezing on people. And Benteke throws a freaking elbow at Elneny's head today and somehow stays on the pitch. And, again, there are plenty of reasonable criticisms to levy at our club and at Arteta and his process. But my goodness, I feel like there have been 1 or 2 matches this year where we've gotten better than we deserved. We escaped with that draw at Leeds after I think it was Pepe who got sent off. And, a couple of matches ago, we probably got a little better than we deserved. But there have been half a dozen matches this year where we've deserved better than we got. And that doesn't happen every year. But more
than that. I mean, the Chelsea game was the one that we didn't deserve to win, and we did. But other than that, it's been double digits of games, I think, that we probably did enough to get either a point and didn't get a point, or get 3 points and we only got 1. I mean, it's been. I mean, we have just not been a fortunate team this year. The other thing that's been in my head since late in the match was, I've been thinking about getting Aubameyang chances. And I'm starting to think there's a chicken or the egg thing. I've been very forgiving of Aubameyang. I'm thinking we're not getting him enough chances, and that's why he's not scoring enough goals. But it's kind of crazy to me that, Martinelli comes on and immediately gets chances, and Pepe creates his own chances. I don't know. I'm starting to wonder if Aubameyang is really doing as much to get in the spots he needs to get to create opportunities, maybe as we think he is. Mike, we talked about this yesterday on with Owen and the guests that we had on yesterday. I mean, he's done this. This is the kind of the Aubameyang pattern and the Mourinho pattern, where in year 3, year 4, it just starts to go wrong. Different situations, different reasons, but I don't want to wait too long and end up in an Ozil situation. I would rather err on the side of maybe we didn't give Aubameyang enough time to bounce back from all the external things that happened this year. Not having the fans he loves to play in front of, his mother, his health, just the weight of signing a new contract and immediately being expected to perform at that level. all of those four things come into play. But I don't want to be the guys left holding the bag with a 33-year-old guy who has taken a massive drop in performance and is now kind of this distraction and talking point. So I would sell him this summer if someone came with and I've been consistent, and if someone comes with 15 million pounds, and is taking their wages rather than 30 million pounds, but we got to pay half the wages, which is 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. I'm biting their hand off for that, for the chance to have a do-over and get younger and not have the lineup issues that we have to have as a result of trying to shoehorn him into the lineup. So, Mike, I mean, I don't remember your take on whether we should sell him or not. So this is a good time to get that back out. But I mean, are we better off without him potentially?
So first, I just want to point out one of my biggest pet peeves in sports are fans that expect a different level or a different type of player after they sign a big contract.
It's the same guy.
It's the same person, with the same traits, with the same level. So that's just a side note. I've never understood when people, they got there based on how they were playing, and that's what the market dictated. He should get paid however you want to look at it. But I've never understood the thought process of he got a 10% raise, therefore we're expecting a 10% output in goals higher. I don't understand that logic per se, right? When it comes to Aubameyang, I think he is essentially, for one, I'm a big sympathizer with all the personal issues that you mentioned, Mike. So, I mean, for me, it's always difficult for me to heavily criticize a player because he's a human being and everybody interprets and receives things and goes through life in different manners. So some people are way closer to their family than others. But on a footballing side, my theory here is essentially he is a victim of how Arteta is trying to evolve the team in the sense that if we look at the FA Cup run, the whole premise of the team was absorb pressure, hopefully not get scored on, counterattack. Therefore, he was playing out on the wing. He had a lot more space to run at defenders, run past defenders, and, on the line whenever we're not getting flagged for ridiculous offsides. So he had more opportunities in general. This evolution that I like to call it, a crazy as it sounds, because I know that a lot of fans aren't the biggest, fans of what we're seeing currently, and I've understand that we've had some really bad games. It's way more possession based. I think the team is starting to lean towards something that Arteta wants to establish, which is a little bit more possession based, play from the back, not so much counterattack. By doing this, it's hindering Alba. So in this current system, if I'm reading the room correctly, if I'm understanding what I think Arteta wants to do with it, which is, slowly build up play and hold in possession, I don't see Alba working in this. So it would be a great solution if we could sell him. But I mean, for obvious reasons, between his age and his wage, that's a massive, massive ask for the club. So yeah, as I always like to sum it up, essentially is Aubameyang kind of needs the team to play for him. Lacazette will play for the team. So Lacazette will most likely get a lot of the wingers like Saka and Pep into better positions, versus Aubameyang kind of floats around in the middle. That's his thing. He's always been that. So I feel like it's a little harsh to say, hey, Alba should work harder on doing this and should try to create chances for. It's never been him. He's never been at a club that tell him you need to work for us. He's always been the figurehead. So because of how the team is evolving and how they're playing, I think it's best for him to move on. But
it does. Yeah, it does. You don't have to like hound the guy out the door and tell him don't let the door hit you on the way out. Like I would like to say to Granit Xhaka with those guys. I mean, it's not. Aubameyang is a hindrance going forward in my mind to the way that this team wants to play under Mikel Arteta. So if we're going to go that direction, then thank you for your service. I appreciate it. We wish you good luck, and we want to give you an opportunity because you're not going to get starts next year as long as the other younger, faster, hungrier guys are getting the job done. And we don't want to. We don't want our captain and our talisman and a guy who's going to be sulking on the bench doing that. So, let's move you on to some place where you can get some time and have a nice end of the career. So same with Bellerin,
Yeah, I'm really at a place with Aubameyang where it's like, I don't know how many more matches into next season I'm willing to wait for him to start finding the back of the net before, Martinelli, this is your chance to play center forward here.
It's funny because Scott, you know what that same argument could be used for, yet I have the opposite, because I agree with you there, but then I disagree with the same argument when it comes to Arteta. People why go into October when you think you know what Arteta has already, because then you've had another lost season. I could see Lawrence smiling. I could see Lawrence smiling in the waiting room.
Mike, you're now turning into the absolutely epic debates I have had with our buddy Elliot, Yankee Gunner, about Arteta. Arteta, yes, is to some extent a work in progress. But you can reasonably expect, like most people, he will still learn some things. All that said, we are third in points and second in points per match since Boxing Day, which coincidentally was the first time Arteta had a usable creative midfielder to throw on the pitch. When he's had anything resembling his squad, we have been a top 4 team. And I think that a lot of what Arteta is dealing with is not of his making. And that is not to say there aren't things I would like to see him do better.
He's gotten in his own way a lot. He's gotten in his own way a lot.
He has, but you know what?
But he hasn't only gotten his own way. Yeah.
But try to think back to when he took over, okay? And do you remember what our situation was in the last weeks under Emery, where we were allowing like 24, 28 shots a match?
Yeah, Watford.
Yeah.
Moving my dog. Yeah, that was
Arteta fixed the defense. We are third in the Premier League in goals allowed this year. And incredibly, we are, I think, second in the Premier League in mistakes leading to goals, which means that if we just cut out that, we're possibly the best defensive team in the league.
We don't do bad things, but when we do them, they're really bad.
Yeah, but the thing is, in the process of doing that, I think he has processed out a lot of the creativity and constipated the attack. And that's something that, to me, if he doesn't figure out in the first half of next year, we have to start having a serious conversation about whether he's the man to take us forward. But the overall results since Boxing Day, it's very difficult to complain about. Our team before Boxing Day was pretty bad. We had Partey for about 250 minutes. We didn't have Smith Rowe. We didn't have Martinelli. We didn't have Odegaard yet. That team was legitimately pretty garbage.
And that end, and again, I'm being devil's advocate because you know where I stand on this. We also did have Mainsley, but just weren't using him. We did have Chambers, but I think he was healthy. I could be wrong on that.
No, Chambers didn't come back until well into the fall off of his ACL.
Okay. So, we're going to move on to Gavin, and I'm going to start with the question that Jared asked because Jared made an excellent point in the chat. But Scott, it's been good having you, man. I hope you join us on Sunday again. And
I will try.
And again, let me know if you start traveling to DC again. We'll meet up at the pub.
Count on it.
All right,
thanks,
take
Scott.
care, bud. All right, Gavin. Bringing Gavin on here.
Count on it.
Thanks,
Hey, Gavin. Thank you for waiting. Appreciate it.
Hello. Hold on.
You there?
I think he had the volume down. He was watching something.
Thank you for waiting. Appreciate it. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hold on.
You want us to come back to you?
Watching something.
Oh God. Appreciate it. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, excellent. Okay. So,
You want us to come back to you?
Oh, no. Okay.
All right,
we're in.
All right, we're getting a bit of an echo, but
Excellent. Okay.
There's a massive delay. I think he's watching it on the computer.
We're in. There's a massive delay here.
It's Gavin. We're not kicking you, but we gotta sort out the audio. I feel like we're doing a radio show now, where somebody's listening to the radio and they were on the radio, like Howard Stern used to always say that. So I don't know if you've got it on two things, but let me know in the private chat if you've got it sorted, because we were hearing ourselves from 10 seconds ago. We'll go to Aston, then we'll come back to you, Gavin.
Hey guys, how you doing?
You're in the car of that we saw you in that Kev Campbell video, which was fantastic. But this is the first time I've seen you since I've seen you, buddy. How you been?
It's been an interesting month, to say the least. I mean, you've had your highs and your lows, especially considering sport. I came in here to have hot takes, okay? Because I am sick of the Arteta out brigade. I want to go ahead and bring up exactly what Jared's commenting on, the fact that if any other manager had taken over since Boxing Day, we would be tipping our hats to them and the amazing transformation of Arsenal. I want to also point out that, like, you know, we always go in on this thing where, like, oh, Arteta's sacrificing creativity for this. Have you ever looked at our midfielders? Has anyone ever actually looked at our midfielders and then looked at their creative output and then gone, well, maybe he's actually doing more with less? I mean, if you remember when we bought El Nini was basically a backup to a backup when we bought him. And now he's having to feature starting in a lot of games. I mean, it's absolutely mental. It's like people forget that we have terrible players. And you know what? To another question that we kind of brought up earlier about the Conference League and even Europa League, I don't want to be in it next year. And do you know why?
Ooh.
We're going to have to sell like half of our team. Like, let's be honest here. If we went down a list of players that you would want out of the club right now, that you would want out of contract, it would be nearly half the squad, right? So we're going to have a small squad. Why would you want to take a small squad into a European competition?
See, I don't think we're going to have a small squad. I think we're going to have a more targeted squad that's going to be a little less bloated. I mean, if we have 26 or so players that could be available for the 18 on game day every day now, if we end up getting rid of 8, which isn't going to happen in one window, we're not getting rid of 8 in one window. But if we were to get rid of 8, we'd probably be bringing in 4, and that we would still have the squad, I think, to play in 2 competitions. Whether it's best to be playing in a competition where the grand prize of the competition is getting into the Europa League rather than the Champions League, to me, and whether you're going to Kazakhstan on a regular basis with Mikel Arteta taking 2 days out of his planning phase for the weekend's game, playing on Sundays and not Saturdays. Whether that's better or not is a debate. But I don't I'm not so worried about the team squad.
I am. Well, I am not, in the way that I don't think that the conference is going to be a competition that we need to play anybody older than 23 anyway. But if you think about it in these terms, our central midfield right now, Ceballos is going to go. He's going back to Madrid. Odegaard, probably not coming back, right? We're going to try to sell El Nini. We're going to try, word on the street is we're going to try to sell Xhaka. Like, those are 2 names being touted around, right? So if you think about that, that essentially leaves Partey and Willock and maybe Ainsley, who we're also trying to sell, in the midfield. So here's the real question. It's like, do you really think that we're going to make up those numbers in midfield in any sort of way that can rotate for a European competition? I mean, we'd be lucky if we, and remember, we don't want them to go out and just fill numbers. We have to buy quality again. And the reality is, on the price value for quality, like we're talking about what his name, Camavinga, the guy from Rennes.
Yeah.
Camavinga from Rennes, right? That's a $45 million price tag. We're talking about Awar. That's another $55 million price tag. We're talking about Basuma. We may be lucky and get 25 to 30. Like, this is a lot of money. So I just do not see us being able to restock the places. Not only that, we need a backup. We need backup fullbacks. We probably need we need to get up a backup to Emi Martinez. Like, so not Emi Martinez. ESR. What did I say? Emi Martinez. Well, speaking of goalie, we're probably going to need a backup goalie.
I was just nodding along.
we're going to need a backup goalie. So it's just, to me, I just don't see. I think that we actually have a lot of sellable players, but I just don't think that we have the resources to get in the amount. I think it's going to take about 2 transfer windows for us to be able to get back the numbers that we're going to need to have a squad that can take on Europe and still focus on Premier League. I think that if we just clean the squad, cut it down, and we're lean, mean, fighting machine Arsenal, we get to we can fight for 4th place. Because we can play the same team over and over and over again without any sort of issue, which has been the biggest issue this year. You know, who's in, who's out, who's injured. I mean, we haven't had Tierney for massive amounts of the campaign. We haven't had Partey, our best midfielder, for massive amounts of the campaign. We haven't had arguably our left right back in Chambers for massive amounts of the campaign. ESR wasn't healthy until December. So we need to take a team that can be consistent and that we can play week in, week out before we can hope to get any sort of results. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we're not going to sit up and buy like 50 players.
Yeah, it's the Leicester City. It's the Leicester City argument, right? Essentially, if you play less games, you're able to keep your players fresh. Here, it's while we're on the transfer subject here, Samir brings up something that I find incredibly interesting. It says Arteta said Kroenke backed him, so scratch that excuse from kindly. So of course, Samir is not the biggest Arteta sympathizer, but Aston, what do you make with these comments that Arteta are making? Because I keep on telling my friends on other DM groups is either he knows something or he's incredibly stupid, because he keeps on making comments like, I'm excited with the amount that I have to invest. Something along those lines. And I'm like, dude, that's a dangerous line to say.
I don't think that's stupid.
I think that's genius, because I think what he's doing is the fans hate Kroenke more than ever right now. So what do? You put pressure on the Kroenkes to invest because they're in the worst spot that they've ever been. This is going to be a terrible, it will 100%, if he doesn't get the funds that he's looking for, and I don't think that this works in funds, by the way. I don't think that the Kroenkes sit down because they don't really understand football, that they just give him some number to spend. I think he says, I want X, Y, or Z player, more likely. And then they go out to try to pursue X, Y, or Z player. So it's not like he's got 70 million to play around with, but he may have 70 million to spend on one player that he's maybe targeted. But either way, I just think that it's putting pressure on the Kroenkes, and it's either he's helping us, telling them to nut up or shut up, basically.
That's amazing, because I don't view them as owners that are that heavily involved, where
I agree.
They'll like, oh man, the pressure's on us. I think they're gonna. This is my theory here is that I think the Kroenkes are gonna react. Josh, Dan, however you want to put it, but I think they're gonna react because their investment is losing value, and what they want to do is keep Arsenal close to the top global brands and clubs. So this isn't good for the brand, and because of that, I think that's more of a motivational standpoint for the Kroenkes to want to invest. I've always kind of related this, Aston. I know you watch American sports and as well. I've always kind of related Europa League / Champions League as playoffs to American owners. You know, a team will they could go 10 years just making playoffs, and they're like, we're successful, we're a playoff team. I almost kind of view it like that. Mike, I see you nodding. You want to come in on that one, bud? Mike has officially froze.
Oh. Yeah,
well, no, I'm rolling my eyes because I can't. My internet is. I don't understand what's wrong.
Here's the thing, though. I agree with you wholeheartedly, and I agree with all of this. But we also have to remember that there's one career that we're not talking about in this, and that's Arteta's. Say the Kroenkes don't invest, right? Say that he doesn't get a squad that does anything next year, and he's out by Christmas. Guess what? His next job, he can say, "Well, I didn't get backed, and you saw what happened."
That's why he's not being stupid. That is exactly what this is about. He's basically saying, I know that my owners are under pressure right now from their fans. I'm not going to be the one like Arsene Wenger used to that bails them out by basically taking all the blame. I'm gonna keep nudging it in that same direction. And he's self-protecting himself. He's putting himself, in a position where he can, he kind of wins both ways, and that isn't a compliment, but that is what he's doing. And I hope it ends up with him putting the requisite amount of pressure on the Cronkies, not just making himself look good as he walks out the door with a losing team.
Well, Mike, let me ask you this, because this is to that point. Isn't that the exact type of manager we would prefer in the moment right now, too?
I'd rather have that.
I'd rather have that than a guy Wenger wall of silence that we used to have, right?
That and the we only really need to improve in one area, despite the fact that we finished off the pace last year. I mean, one thing I can tell you about this summer for sure is that we're not just signing Petr Cech. That I can tell you. So before we go to Lawrence, Aston, I just have to ask you one question: Giroud or Ramsey, and why Giroud?
Listen, first of all, Ramsey all day. Ramsey. I did want to say one last thing, one quick hot take, and I do want everybody to kind of leave on this. Tell me I'm wrong. The refs in Premier League are exactly like cops in America. They have everybody can check on what they're doing. They have carte blanche authority to just ruin the system. Done.
Okay. I'm not going to disagree with you.
Cut him off.
No, we don't do that. We don't do that. By the way, I have to say,
but it's true. But it's true. They have all the authority, and nobody can check them, and it's terrible. And I'm tired of it.
Yeah, I don't know that I would compare the two situations, but I get the analysis that the analogy that you're saying. I had a great time with you a couple weeks ago, man. I was so glad that you I went to Florida.
One of the best times of my life.
Couple hours. Well, I wasn't going in that far, but it was the 94th best time of my life. But I was about 2.5 hours away from Aston, and I told him I was going to be down in Florida. I was like, hey, what about joining me in Sarasota for Arsenal Villarreal? And he came down, and we had a great night. I think I don't remember the most of the second part of it, but we were debating the merits of Giroud versus Ramsey as Arsenal legends, or who was more of a legend, or not that either one of them are. But anyway, it was a fun night. It was another example of Gooners who have met through being Gooners and are now tight. So, Aston, we will be seeing you tomorrow on both the Gooners podcast and on the Highbury Squad during our special show, which we're going to talk a little bit more about at the end of the show. But this is going to be fun. We got Rebecca Lowe on, got some special secret guests, and I'll talk a little bit more about it at the end. But yeah, Aston, you'll be joining us, and I can't wait. I hope my internet works better tomorrow than it is today. That's for damn sure. So
you're not going to
talk to you soon, buddy.
Tonight. Later, Ann.
Later, guys.
Lawrence has been waiting. Lawrence, we know we're going to get some hot takes out of you. Are you happy in the moment, at least, that we won today? I mean, we did win a game today. I think you might be muted. You there?
Oh.
There we go.
Can you help?
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah, sorry about that.
So is a 3-1 win against Palace first time in 4 years? Does that get a smile? No. All right, lay it on us.
No, I mean we could be celebrating St. Totteringham Day on Sunday.
He's just gone out and said it. We were trying not to use those actual words.
You jinxed it. You wrecked the whole season. I hope you're happy.
Oh, well, you know, fair do.
So I'll ask you this question: proper Cockfosters, proper North London Gooner, proper. But we got to ask: would you rather finish 7th in the Conference League with them finishing 8th, or would you rather finish 8th with them finishing 7th and playing in the Conference League?
I always want to finish above Tottenham,
even if it puts us in the Conference League. That's my view.
It is what it is, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, preferably, I'd like to see us finish higher up. I thought that was going to happen at one stage when West Ham were losing today, but that's gone out the window now. So if it means...
so we are.
Sorry.
What is the? I'm just looking up the scenario now. We are now in 9th. The best we can do at this point now is 7th. We can no longer get Europa based on West Ham. So we can finish 7th, 8th, 9th, or 10th. And then, of course, there's the matter of Tottenham, and there's the matter of me desperately trying to bet people money for charity earlier in the season when we were 10 points behind our Everton, that I said that we would end up finishing above them. And everyone talked like they wanted to, but then wouldn't put their money up. So I have this thing where I want to finish in front of Everton just so that I can go back and retweet those tweets. But what have you got on your mind, Lawrence?
I just thought the refereeing today was shambolic. I mean, how Palace did not have 3 players sent off in that first half, I've got no idea. I mean, the foul on Chambers after 2 minutes, almost decapitated him, and the ref just didn't have the bottle to pull out a red. And I was watching the.
Was that the one where he stepped on his ankle?
Yeah. I mean, went to.
So how did his head almost fall off? That decapitating is when you chop someone's head off.
Well, you know what I mean. He might have done.
I love it. I like that. He almost they would have had to have amputated. That's for sure. But
yeah, but I mean, I was watching the game.
That was
I was watching the game. I was watching the game on live stream on BT Sport, and they've got Peter Walton, who's an ex-referee, as a pundit, and he said that merited an orange card. It was so diabolical.
Yeah, and meanwhile, we have on the regular NBC, the Peacock stream, we have Efan Akoku saying later in the game that might have been a red.
How does that make sense?
I know that there's this unwritten rule that that referees don't want to insert themselves into games and make it a completely unlevel thing a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes into the game. I know that's kind of the understanding, but the rule is that if you decapitate somebody's leg in the first 3 minutes of the game, then it's a red card, and you're not so to not do that means that you can literally. I mean, I did actually send a tweet. Speaking of decapitations, I did send out a tweet that was like, okay, so Schlupp can basically just go chop Zaha, or not Zaha. You can go just chop Saka's head off with a machete, but as long as it's in the first 5 minutes.
If I did that to you in the street, I'd be banged up now. I mean, it just don't make sense.
And I'd still be in the fetal position crying, but...
Yeah, I mean, there was the incident when the defender kicked Kieran Tierney, right in front of the referee. Yeah. And he did nothing. I mean there was no need to do that.
And those things went to VAR. I mean, the kick out on Tierney, the kick out on Tierney, there is a mild potential excuse that he was going to try to kick the ball, but why is he going to try to kick the ball in that situation? Wasn't it a corner kick? And
yeah, the ball had gone out for a corner, and he just decided to give Tierney a whack on the leg.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand how that's not even. That was not even a yellow. And then Benteke,
and then Benteke.
Score of their goal eventually.
You can see he puts his elbow into El Nenny's face, and they're saying VAR is saying, "Oh, well, it was negative hostility or whatever."
What is negative hostility?
They said it was something. It was negative something. Was the reason why they didn't give the guy a red card. And he clearly puts his elbow into El Nenny's face.
Yeah,
it was something like intent. It was like intent or something. Like it wasn't like aggressive enough.
Like he was trying to get him away from him rather than he was trying to strike him. Okay, but haven't we been given reds for that?
They said, he said it was negative aggression. The guy on the
TV. That's a new one. Like when Xhaka put his arm around somebody's neck, I believe, or was it? Did Xhaka do that, or was that? I mean, was it Xhaka and Guendouzi?
Yeah, Xhaka against Burnley.
Okay, so when Xhaka does that, I mean, it wasn't like he mounted him and kept going to try to like choke him out. Like he was pushing him away too. But when the hands go high, it's supposed to be a red, no matter what the intent was. That's ridiculous. See, I'm more mad now than I was when it actually happened. Hearing that, it's ridiculous. But
my mind goes immediately, and it's really difficult to not think about this because I totally understand that people are like, you're making excuses, but when I see things like that, I think about Mane doing it to Tierney. Yeah. I think about Pepe
later in that same game.
Headbutt.
Later in that same game, there was a stamp that was worse than
the one. It's so frustrating to just have to go through the whole season like that,
And yet David Luiz gets sent off against Wolves when he hardly touches the player.
If he touched him, I mean, maybe he touched him.
If he touched him,
yeah. It's again, I have always hated this argument. I've gotten in back and forth Facebook arguments on Arsenal America's website with people 5 years ago who, at the depths of when Wenger was clearly kind of unraveling. And again, his unraveling was losing his grip on fourth place. I understand that. But when things were clearly going in the wrong direction with him in the Premier League, they wanted to talk about referee this, referee that. And I wasn't having it. I'm like, this is just not, we shouldn't be in a situation where these things impact the game. But this season, it's gone to a completely new level this season. And, likewise, we shouldn't be allowing some of these things, these offside calls or penalty non-calls to be impacting games and making us lose games against Villa and Burnley and that sort of thing that we should be winning. But it's hard to imagine when people should be off the pitch, when they should be down to 9 and they get to play with 11, that will impact the game. And maybe we should just take a step back and say, the fact that we actually held our resilience and came back and won that game, was it lucky, Lawrence, or was it resilience and something?
I don't know, because I mean, in saying what happened in that first half, had Benteke had been sent off, they would have never got that equaliser. But they would have been chasing it the whole game. I think the game could have been 4-5, 6-0 if they had made the calls. Yeah, and as it was, we almost dropped 2 points in this game. So typical Arsenal. We just sat back. We basically invited them to put pressure on us. We started playing it really risky at the back, as per usual, trying to play the ball out from the back. And we got punished once again, and it looked like it was going to be another 2 points dropped. And fortunately, Martinelli done the business. I mean, what has Martinelli got to do to get a run of 4 games?
Apparently, wait till next season. I think that's what he's got to do.
I know, exactly. I mean, going back on what you said about refereeing, I found it amazing. They actually had to go to VAR when he scored that goal because I couldn't see anything wrong with it, and they went to VAR because they thought there was a handball in the lead up to the goal.
Well, yeah, and to be fair, the hand was in a position that it was worth checking out. But I don't think there's been an Arsenal goal in the last 6 weeks that hasn't gone to VAR. just because they're like, how can we? Could we find other than Pepe's penalty against Villarreal? Can we find something? Can we possibly find something? We've actually got as full of a red room as we did when we got started today. So we're going to have to start moving in and out pretty quickly. But Lawrence, thanks for your patience and waiting. Thank you for joining me on my regrettable 8-hour pregame show a couple weeks ago.
I think this was another one you were doing.
No, we're ending in about 15 or 20 minutes. But no red wine for me tonight, so that won't be happening. But always good to see you. Hope to see you pretty soon, Lawrence.
Take it easy. Take care. Bye.
All right, we're trying Gavin again. Are you good, mate?
I think so. Can you hear me?
All righty, yes, we can.
Perfect, dude.
And we can only hear you once, which is the right number of times. So,
my sincere apologies.
Not a problem. Not a problem at all.
It would appear that my iPad doesn't like your screen.
Well, we don't like your iPad either. I'm sorry. You know,
How does that feel?
It's not you. It's not you. Oh, okay. I like your iPad cover, but I don't like your iPad.
Your iPad bottled it, is what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, Gavin.
It's an iPad 1, if there is such a thing.
It is. I'm very old, so yeah. Anyway, I hope you're all okay.
Yeah,
how's
all right.
How's it
remind
been?
Me? I think you've been on with us once before, but remind me whereabouts are you joining us from?
So I'm from southeast of England, Maidstone. You
That's right.
Remember that? Yeah,
that's right. Maidstone, which is, I believe, Tom Kenton territory.
Yes.
So you're right around the corner.
Yeah, just around the corner. Yeah.
Thoughts on the game tonight, or do you want to go kind of larger on the overall season, or what's to come?
Oh no, I'm pretty glass half full person, so I wouldn't really want to divulge the season, to be honest.
I was saying to Sophie and Amanda on the show before this,
Sophie's not very happy, is she?
Look, I will defend Sophie to the death. Sophie is an emotional person who doesn't, and like most people, doesn't care for having their subjective opinions challenged. You know, and look, she has every right to feel that way. I was kind of tiny bit therapist on that show because I was trying to stop the two of them from having to go at each other a little bit about that.
They do that quite often, don't they?
Yeah, well, you know, look, everyone's entitled to their opinion. No one should be told that they can't feel a particular way about something or that they shouldn't. You know, I happen to differ in opinion on a lot of things with Sophie, but you know, she's not reactionary. She is quite fair and
well, heart on sleeve.
There you go. He brought his own bell.
He has a podcast bell. That's all.
I found that when two women are arguing about something, it's really good.
Watch it.
Easy, Tiger.
When
two people are very upset about something, it's always good to tell them to calm down. Everybody reacts well to that.
People love that. Yeah. No, look, it is easy for a lot of people to look at the time frames, and this is really where I was going with that comment was, you know, it's all about time frames. You look at a 9-month time frame, and this goes to the whole debate about that split table, the table since Christmas, the table before that, which is an argument I love having. But you look at a 9-month time frame, and you should be very unhappy. If you look at a 6-month or a 5-month time frame, you should be happier. If you look at a 90-minute time frame, especially a 90 minutes that end, or 94 minutes that ends with with 2 game-winning goals in the last 5 minutes, and we've just beat Palace for the first time, and everybody's all of a sudden, it's our 4th victory in a row in the Premier League out of 4 games. Then I think there's reason to be optimistic. Satisfied? No. Optimistic? No. But some people are going to look at things on a larger scale and say, you know what, this is kind of putting, papering over the cracks, or putting, putting sugar on something, and it's literally what papering over the cracks means, which is we haven't fixed anything. It just looks like we're better, but we're not. If our winning streak here at the end of the season were to stop us from doing the things that we need to do this summer, then I'd be upset at Arsenal for falling into that trap. But in the meantime, I do prefer to look at the short term. I mean, and my long-term memory is awful, so I don't even remember. I don't remember earlier this season. All I remember is our wins.
I've just got a big up from Kent, by the way. Happy day.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm now famous. Anyway, I wanted to ask you a question.
Big Stevie's. You want the big ups from Stevie, because yes.
Me and Big Steve are going to have beers.
Nice. Absolutely.
So, do you remember Anders Limpar?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course.
So, when I was watching Martinelli today, and definitely Pepe, they both remind me of Anders Limpar. In the fact that they.
Do you mean that as a compliment?
Massively, because he was a very good player, but he used to run down really blind alleys. Nothing was happening. And then all of a sudden, some worldie would come out somewhere. And so you have to just appreciate the really bad stuff with the really good stuff. Do you find Pepe and Martinelli as frustrating as Anders Limpar?
Well, I'll be fair. I'll be honest. I know of Andre Limpar. I've watched his play, but I wasn't watching him as he played. There was a period in my history where I didn't have access to the games as often, and it was during that time frame. Okay. So I can't tell you how I used to feel watching him play. I can tell you I've seen him play. I've seen the historical highlights, but. How I feel about Pepe is that he's just like Wilfried Zaha, except he's good. And Martinelli, I think Martinelli has a chance to be a generational talent. I really do. Okay. Am I frustrated in how little he's played this season? Yes, but am I willing to accept it under the assumption that he has a bigger role next season, which is what both he and Arteta seem to be saying in the press. I can't wait to see him come out of the gates next season. I really can't. We didn't have the chance to see that this season. It looked like we would until he got hurt, and he was out indefinitely. But I can't wait to see a fully ready Martinelli.
Sorry to interject, but based on his performance today, and we've seen that quite a lot recently, is he going to be blockbuster that we think he is?
Mikey?
I'm sorry. My wife was talking to me. Can you repeat the question, Gavin? I'm really sorry. I heard her through the door.
Your wife was talking to me at the same time.
Uh-oh.
Here's Mikey.
Go for it. Gavin, can you please repeat the question? I'm sorry, man.
So I don't know if it's because of post-injury that he's not quite as potent as he was last year. But this year, when I've seen him play, and obviously it's been quite sporadic and he's been on subs quite a lot, but he just seems, I don't know, he seems to be running around a lot and running into people rather than being quite dynamic like he was before he got injury.
I think with Martinelli, because of the times that he's played have been so rare and far in between, what I see is over eagerness. I think almost to be involved in everything. I think a big example of that was the Manchester United game where he got pulled in halftime. I think lots of times when we were clearly trying to play a counter-attacking game during them, we were kind of absorbing their attack. He was involved in defense, almost overcrowding Tierney in that left back spot. And it's really weird to say, hey, you're trying too much, but it might be, hey, you're trying too much. Like, listen, the directions we gave you were to be in this position over here. This is where I need you for our attack to involve. What was that?
He's like a puppy with a ball. He's just
essentially.
That's why I've called him raw. That's why I've called him raw. I mean, he's clearly talented.
Exactly. That's a great way of saying it. Yeah, absolutely.
And when you see him bombing forward and you see him like just pressing and you see that, especially the uneducated viewer like myself will just see that as being just massive, incredible, like I gotta have him out there. But that may not be matching exactly what he's being asked to do at the time. So like, again, there's training that we're not seeing. There's what's happening in the games that we don't necessarily know what exactly role he's being asked to be in, whether he's doing that or not. The role of being good, though, I think he's got that covered. And as soon as it is admittedly very Pollyanna of me, but I cannot wait for next August, because I think we have the opportunity to really put this season behind us and start off stronger. And, more than likely I'm going to look like a complete chump for the 84th consecutive year. But, we have these players who are on the verge. We have players who have been underperforming and are finally coming good. Now I'm jealous. I might have to make some soup. But we've got all of that stuff like literally getting ready to happen. And it just feels, and all this stuff going against us this year, it just feels like one little kind of breath to blow things over to the other side of the equation is all we need. And the summer and a full preseason might be that.
Yeah, it's a big one for Arteta for sure. I've got one more thing.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I'll be very quick. So do you remember when Tierney got a little tap on the goal line and went down like a sack of spud?
I'm happy he didn't break his leg. Yes, I know what you're talking about.
Well, yeah, sack of spuds. Yep. Yeah, he did. He almost got decapitated. Was that rude of me? Was that rude of me, Mike? Be honest, because
everything
I knew what he was trying to say.
Mike.
I knew what he was trying to say, but I couldn't. You know how Andy says I'm like a trout.
Well, yeah. When Messi.
Yeah, Andy says like he messed that up. He knows he did, but whenever I call him on it, he says he meant to do it, and I'm like a trout, and I am like a trout. I am easy to fish, but the second he said decapitated, and the first thing I'm like, is he talking about the tackle on the ankle, or did I miss something? Then if he's talking about the one on the ankle, do I actually act like a dick and correct the anatomical severing of body parts?
And the answer to that is,
I just decided to go for it.
It's always yes
end,
for you. Yeah.
In the end, I take the road most douchey. Gavin, always a pleasure to have somebody up. We got a lot of love from Kent in the chat. We're apparently huge in both England and Kent.
Very much so. Okay. So my quick question was, were you disappointed in his reaction?
Oh yeah. That's true. We didn't answer it. I was too pissed off at Cahill. Was it Cahill that?
No, I don't think it was Cahill. Cahill wouldn't have got anywhere near him.
No.
I can't remember who it was. But anyway, the point still stands because we think that Kieran Tierney is like big hard man, future captain of Arsenal, and I personally didn't like his reaction.
Tierney and Martinelli are both. I mean, Tierney doesn't cry, but he does look like he's going to be out for 6 months. And Martinelli used to go down. I mean, he's gotten over this, it looks like, but like 4 straight games, he would go down and like literally he'd be crying and asking for a stuffed animal on the pitch, and it was driving me crazy. But you may have a point that it was a little more than it needed to be, given that apparently he ended up being okay. But like, it's no different than anybody else does when they get hit in the arm and they hold their face. I mean, that kind of stuff. You don't know whether they're what position their ankle or their shin was, so that if you get kicked in the shin and you go down, it might hurt a lot in that moment. When you get hit in the shoulder and you go down holding your face, that's just bullshit.
Well, and so Tierney's shoulder, very very fragile.
Well, yeah. So I mean, he didn't do that. So I'm saying the two things to me don't compare, but that's just a blatant.
I thought you made a meal out of it, and I would expect more of our future captain.
That's a fair point, and one that I hadn't heard a lot about, but that is a good point. By the same token, if El Neni went down and did backflips after he got hit in the face, probably could have been a red. So, Gavin, hope you'll join us again on Sunday. Take care, buddy.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me. Sorry about the technical problems. I hope you're all okay.
No problem.
It's all good,
problem.
Brother.
Billy, you're on deck if you want to turn your camera on. Take care, buddy. Billy.
Hello.
How you doing, buddy?
I just want to start out by showing this man's picture right here.
That's right. You're man of the match, right?
Man of the match, yeah. I mean,
where are you joining us from today?
I'm in New York, Long Island.
Long Island. That's what I thought. Okay, my memory doesn't work so well anymore, but I thought so. How you been?
Been good. Arsenal-wise, not been the best, but outside of that, been okay.
Why? We've won 4 straight games, man. We're the hottest team. If the season started on April 25th, we would be champions right now.
Exactly.
It ended right now.
On Boxing Day, we would be the second best team in England, and we are. So technically speaking, we really are. So
do you? So let me ask you this, and then we'll get to whatever you wanted to say. Do you, when that whole thing is brought up to you, because now it is officially the last 23 games, we are second in the league alone.
Yeah.
The first I think it was 14, we were 15th, and then since Boxing Day, we're second in the league. Does that mean anything to you, or do you have that hardline attitude? We're 8th, we're 9th.
I mean, 2 ways, right? Number one, it means something to me if I want to be shameless, right? And say, we have played better than a lot of these teams that have had a better season. But I do think on a more realistic take, yes, I do see that improvement, right? That's the one thing, is where have we actually gone, right? From there, has Arteta been able to actually work on a squad and gotten the best squad out of them, right? And then gotten the great tactics that have helped us win. And that's true, right? He's been able to improve. But then I'm also like, wow, those 15 games must have been terrible, right? And they really were. Like
they were horrendous. They were bad results. They were disgusting to watch.
And I'm kind of like, why did it take so long? I know we talk about the reasons of, he didn't have enough of a preseason, given that we went so far into the FA Cup and won it. He tried the squad. The players might not be good enough, but then it's also conflicting because they are playing better, right? So there's, and then
those weren't the reasons.
Exactly.
Bill, you want to know the reason?
What?
Up on the screen is the reason. We're not even going to say it out loud. So if you're listening to this on iTunes, this is what you have to watch the show if you want you want the information.
Exactly. But we were missing creativity, right? That's really, really a perfect answer, to be honest. But it's great to, honestly, between you and me, and I'm not even trying to be, jokes. I don't remember the last time we beat Crystal Palace away. Like, I actually generally do not remember.
Away, it was the last time we beat them away was December of 2017.
Wow.
Before today we'd had five draws and a loss against them.
Wow.
We actually won 2 in a row, 1 home, 1 away, after that horrible "you're not fit to wear the shirt" game, which was a Monday night football game in April of 17. We then won twice against them, and from that point we had just dropped points, lost. Had some just ridiculous outcomes. The Xhaka thing, the scoring twice in the first 10 minutes with defenders, and then having them come back and tie the game and then instead of getting a penalty, a foul on Chambers that was missed. I mean, it's just been and that's why we called it yesterday's show. Palace, what could go wrong?
Right.
And that's why I'm so happy that we just got it done today. Forget everything else. We got it done today. We overcame 12 players, including the refs and VAR, 13 players, 10,000 rabid fans who are calling us cheaters, which I hate that chant, but I loved hearing it because I've missed that so much. I've missed the fans.
Another chant, not to cut you off, but another chant that was actually fun. I don't know if you caught this, but when Xhaka came on, they were singing, "He's one of our own, he's one of our own." I don't know if you heard that. And
I did not catch that. That's great. I wish he was one of their own.
That stadium is so great, right? Like, they don't have that many fans that were there, but because of the acoustics, they sound so loud. So to your point, like, isolating this as a one-off game by itself, obviously we have to take into account the season, but it was a great performance. I mean, Nicolas Pepe did what he had to do from the right-hand side, which is, one of the things we always tried to figure out, like, all right, does he play on the left better than does he play on the right better? But and he did have the support of Chambers, you could say, but it was a beautiful performance, honestly, for the boys. And again, another thing that I was looking for is resilience, right? Because we didn't necessarily, we came off the bat pretty strong, but then once they got that goal back in from Benteke, it was a little bit, iffy, what the same old, where are we going to get it out? But then Arteta made the subs, the actual Martinelli sub, which he brought him on, right? And then Martinelli did what he had to do in that middle, which is always funny because, on Martinelli, I always feel like a lot of fans find excuses, right, to say, hey, maybe he wasn't ready and that's why Arteta doesn't play him, right? And, maybe, he's trying to protect him. But then I'm like, why does he always bring him in when we need a goal if he doesn't think he's ready for prime time? You know what I'm saying? Like that, you bring him as an impact sub to score a goal. So that's why I'm like, I can't really buy that from Arteta, because you literally always bring him in when we're 1-0 down or draw because you want him to score. So it doesn't make sense for me saying that he's not ready to play, Well,
and we've seen him start games, though. When we have seen him start games, has his performance been, it almost seems like he does better as a plan B. Yeah. And I just think the plan B needs to be more regular, and it needs to be, in games, maybe 55th to 60th minute if we're needing a goal or something. Don't wait until the 77th minute and give him 10 minutes of which 5 of them are kind of getting up to the speed of the game to get it done. I mean, that's asking a lot of somebody to keep giving them 10 to 12 to 13 minutes and expect them to perform at the top level in those 10 or 12 or 13 minutes and keep pulling a rabbit out of the hat. So I'd like to see him get the occasional start. I'm fine with him not starting every week, because if that forces one of Saka, ESR, Pepe, Lacazette, if you can't play all those at the same time, then Martinelli's the junior guy in that situation. He was brought to Arsenal at the same time as Pepe was, but he's still the junior guy in that arrangement, and he needs to. I'm fine with him coming off the bench, but more often than he does.
Right, exactly, more consistently, and that's the word, right? I mean, consistency. That's what we've lacked this season.
Consistency we have lacked. We've done well against good teams more often than not. We've failed to show up for games that we should be winning more often than not. That's what needs to be ironed out. Some of these players that are either not going to be around or not good enough need to be moved out, or at least made to be squad players. I'm in favor of not selling Elneny, and I'm in favor of not selling Chambers, but that doesn't mean I want them starting next season. Okay, I am in favor of selling Bellerin and selling Xhaka. I realize that leaves our midfield light because we're not getting Ceballos or Odegaard most likely. But I think that's where we focus on adding maybe 2 players and bringing in Aziz to be an apprentice in the first team proper. So I think it's going to be a fascinating next 3 months. Before 3 months from now we'll be in game day 2 of the season, and we'll have a better idea of who we are going forward, I think.
Yeah. Well, apparently we're getting Jack Grealish, so we should win.
We're getting Grealish, Basuma,
both Camavinga
right now. Camavinga, Grealish, Basuma, Upamecano,
all the top-rated youngsters from FIFA for sure. 100%.
We're getting Samuel Umtiti.
Before we let you go, Billy, I actually have a question for you, because Mike keeps on bringing up Xhaka, and I know it's his favorite player. But where do you stand on
his
that?
His name starts with X.
Yeah, Xhaka. Do you stand on the after the crowd thing, the losing his mind, flicking off the fans and tossing the jersey on the floor? Is that your cutoff point, or is your cutoff point I just don't rate him as a midfielder? Because I think Mike, you're semi okay with him as a player. It's the personal thing. It's the Crystal Palace event that you can't move past, right?
It's the Crystal Palace event. It's the Burnley event. It's the comments in the media after the Burnley event when he came back in the game after his suspension and scored a free kick, which is his job. Beautiful free kick, but it's not like he's done that 12 times this season. And it's this stuff which I thought was funny when he first started it. It's everything. It's just not working personally. And when fans come back, I don't think it's going to start working magically. Yeah. So, I'll take a pass. I'll take a no comment on his play on the pitch, because a lot of people just absolutely kill him. And a lot of people, many who are very analytical about the game, and I tend to trust them more than I trust others, point out his value to the team. I just think he's better. He'd be better on a different team than on Arsenal. That's how I feel.
He'd be better away from us. Okay.
He'd be better for me, and that's what I care about most.
Right.
For those of you who don't know, Mike is just upset because that jersey has a Xhaka name on the back of it.
And, no, but I do have one that does.
Yeah,
I do have one that does.
Billy, where do you stand with him, man? Can you move past that whole incident, or are you kind of still bothered about it?
Just really, if you're looking at it from a fan who loves Arsenal, you should have said screw Xhaka a long time ago and not want him to see him. But as I try to sometimes use my head and my ration, but still, even with that, right, the performance and where I want to be, right, in terms of looking at our midfield, where am I seeing Arsenal in the future, right? I want someone who's better in there, right? I do see what Xhaka brings, not only on the pitch in terms of his distribution or whatnot, especially when Luis is not there. But another thing sometimes they're talking about is leadership. But there can be a more effective leader, right? Because leadership is not just about I'm loud and I'm putting the direction. It's also about I lead by example. And if you're costing me you have a direct error leading to goal, and you're leading your players and leading Bukayo Saka, it's like, all right, you're my leader, but what are you leading me towards, right? So that's why I sit with Mike, right? It's like, all right, you're a leader, but we need to do better. Actually, what you said about El Neni, I wouldn't mind Xhaka being a squad player as well, right? Like, he's not starting for sure, but you can bring him in potentially, usually not. To be honest, I wouldn't want to bring him in as much as El Neni. But I feel like, there is a component of the fact that, these players, some reason, I don't know what happens in the dressing room, but they trust him, right? And
they do. I mean, it's hard to argue. I mean, it's like Andy always says back when he used to talk. He's the captain of Switzerland. He was the captain of Mönchengladbach. He was the captain of Arsenal for a while. Multiple managers in multiple scenarios rate him as a leader. So I'm not going to dispute that that's the case. I just, for him to be a squad player for me would not solve my particular issue.
Completely. I don't think there's a right or wrong in terms of his performance. But judging off not even that incident. If you take away that incident, even with his performances, you're justified in saying he should not be on the squad.
Well, and I think he holds value in the market based on his age, based on his qualities, based on he's got that German thing where he's played in Germany, and a lot of players who have played in Germany leave Germany and come back to Germany tend to be welcomed back with open arms and reasonable fees. So I don't know if that's based on any kind of reality or not, but that's the way it feels to me. And so I think that much like Bellerin, I think the value is as high this summer as it's ever going to be. Cash out, even if it's not 40, if it's not what we paid for him, cash out, move on, and move forward. And like
you said too, I mean, even the Switzerland thing, right? Like Mike, you brought up a great point. The fact that when he plays and he's a captain, he's a leader, right? He has a better performance. I don't know what happens exactly with that, but I just think, and I'll leave it at that. Arsenal should just not sign any more Swiss players because we've been duped by Xhaka, we've been duped by Lichtsteiner, and that was free, and I still feel robbed from that. I really don't know. I'm still upset. Like, sometimes I wake up at night and I'm like, why the hell did we go for Lichtsteiner, and how was he free, and he was still such a bad player for us?
I was in the house for his only goal that he scored that season. It was a League Cup game against Blackpool, and that was some fun. But Billy, appreciate it. We got one more person, very special person, and an announcement that I'm going to make as we bring Gary on. Awesome. But Billy, you're a special person, and we appreciate you joining us.
Thank you. You guys too.
Thanks, Billy. Appreciate it, bro.
Take care, buddy. Gary.
Hello.
Gary.
Hello, Mike and Mike. I'm on the Mike and Mike show.
You're on the Mike and Mike show.
I've been waiting. I've seen it for years, and now I get to be on it.
Yep, and just like that show, there's a Jew and there's a Jew and there's a fat guy, and I'm both of them on this show. I want to make a quick announcement while we have you, so that I don't forget to do it at the end. First of all, tomorrow we are doing a special a co-sponsored show. It's going to be 2 hours. The first hour is going to be on the Highbury Squad platform, and it's going to be a special show for anyone that wants to watch, but it's kind of tailored towards football in America and how NBC Sports has really revolutionized the televising of football in America in a very good way. We're going to have Rebecca Lowe on, former ESPN UK, former BBC host, outstanding and beloved person in the American football community. She'll be joining us. She is a Crystal Palace fan, as a matter of fact. So this will be especially sweet having her on the day after today. But she's going to be kind of talking about her role. We're going to have some other Gooners like Aston and MK and Taylor and Tiff from Arsenal America that are going to talk about some of their experiences. We're going to have a very special guest joining us as well. And of course, because it is the Highbury Squad, Soph, Amanda, and Super Kev will all be there. Then that starts at 8 o'clock UK time, 3 o'clock Eastern. After the first 50 or 60 minutes or so, we're going to switch over to the Gooners Pod. There'll be a new link to switch over to the Gooners Pod, and we'll continue the show. Whoever's still around, we'll talk. We'll bring in more questions from the audience. It'll be a fun time. It will also serve as the official kickoff for Gooners versus Cancer 2021. Last year, our campaign, even in the midst of COVID and lockdown and no face-to-face contact or fundraising, managed to raise over $21,000 for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. Amazing help from people like Owen, from people like Mikey in donating items. Just a really great Gooner community event, and we're going to try to smash that this year. And if you're on top of things and you donate prior to the end of May, not only are you going to get raffle tickets for all of the great items that are available to win, like we had last season, which you can see on our website, but we're also going to have an exclusive early bird auction for a team-signed 2021 jersey. You can't see it that well, but there are player signatures all over this mofo, provided directly from Arsenal, certificate of authenticity and everything. Some of the guys in the chat, I know were on the Highbury squad earlier when we announced this, but it's going to be a great year. And if you get in early, get in your donation, we'll include you. You'll have an opportunity to win that shirt. There will be consolation prizes as well. Some really great artwork from Ruth Beck's art. And if you don't win anything in May, you will be entered again. You get essentially double the entries. You'll be entered again into the raffle, which is drawn in October, for some great prizes. So GoonersVCancer.com, GoonersVersusCancer.com, both of them will take you to the website, and it's open now in case anybody wants to get in early. And we'll be talking about that tomorrow. So Gary, appreciate you bearing with me during that.
No problem.
What do you want to talk about? Arsenal?
Yeah, let's talk about Arsenal.
I don't know. Mikey would be perfectly happy talking about Milan or Guatemala City Football Club. Guatemala City Football Club.
Sunday, make or break for Milan. I'm going to need all Arsenal supporters that watch this support for Milan. Trying to make
the game the same time as the Arsenal game.
11:45.
Oh right.
So yes, it overlaps with the Arsenal game.
Yeah. So switch to the Milan game. They need your support more for this one. Okay.
Hopefully have it won by then. So that'll be nice. We should be able to do that, right?
By the time the Milan game starts, will we be in the Conference League or not?
And isn't that what really matters?
I mean, Conference League. I'm as excited about the Conference League as I am about Balogun and as I was about Monchi before he broke my heart.
Monchi?
Goddamn Monchi, man. No. Sorry, Gary. We're trampling all over your moments.
No, that's fine. No, I don't. I mean, I just wanted to come on and talk with you guys. You talked about Xhaka before I got on, so I don't know if I can. We can. There's much to say about that more. I mean, did you talk about Aubameyang already? Because I kind of felt like
kind of at the beginning, but we'd love your take on it. I mean, I'm ready to sell the guy, but what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah,
Here's the correct thought, and then we want to hear what you have to say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and if you don't agree with us, you're wrong. Just that's how opinions work, right? Is this Twitter?
If you don't agree with that, and if you cannot prove that you had your opinion and it was the same opinion back in 2018 when we first signed him, then we're kicking you off the podcast.
Yeah. And if you haven't been to the Emirates, you're not proper. Okay, go.
Oh, damn, you got me then.
No, if you haven't been to Highbury, you're not proper.
No, I think Aubameyang, at least in my eyes, had a really bad game. Really bad game. I mean, he if there was a time to sub him at halftime, it was today. I felt, the way the game was going, we needed some more. He doesn't work, and I understand. I heard you, Mike, when you were talking. You were talking about him, like that's what he does. But man, it's just it's painful when every time we get the ball, they look upfield, and there's nobody there because Aubameyang's behind them, and that's just he's never going to get the ball in the positions he wants because he tracks back too far. He's you've got this one. I'm getting called here.
So, all right. So did we just
our wives have no respect for podcasting. That's what we figured out today.
I don't know. When my son came and asked me whether I was about to watch the hockey game with him, I at least put everything on mute. So, are you back, Gary?
Yeah, I'm back. I finally get to talk, and then all of a sudden we got to set the air conditioners up in the house. So we got an old house, so all the air conditioners.
At least you muted yourself when you said "Shut up, kid."
Oh no, I don't say shut up to that daughter. That's not. I got 4, and that's the one I don't know. I don't talk back to her.
Kudos to you for knowing your kids well.
Yeah.
Mike's got so many kids, he doesn't know which ones that he could say that to, and which ones he can't.
I forget their names sometimes. To be honest, with
Mike lives in a shoe.
I know exactly what you're talking about. They ask me all the time. They always ask me, "Do you know my name?" I'm like, Barbara. I don't know. Just you're my kid, right? Yeah, cool. But yeah,
you didn't You didn't assign numbers to them.
I should have. I didn't do that. No. Oh, damn. Yeah. No. So I like I said, I think Aubameyang, man, I would be happy if they sold both the strikers. I just don't think they can, and so they got to keep one. And I think they can only keep Aubameyang. Like, is that we need the money, right? We need the money, and to me, this is the same situation as with the goalkeepers last season. I want us to sell to get the most money back. And right now, the most money back, I think, is Lacazette, just because of the hindrance I think that Aubameyang gives in that kind of a transfer market. He's just not gonna. We're not gonna get enough takers. I feel. I mean, I don't know why he wants to be here. We didn't like Mike said. We didn't set up a team that fits in. That he could fit into. He doesn't work, and he needs the ball in certain positions, and he's never in those positions. I mean. Martinelli comes on, and the first thing he's doing is asking for the ball, and eventually the cross comes in. You're like, wow, when I have never seen. Aubameyang never. It's been a while, at least I feel, since he's been calling for the ball, and as a player you're on a pitch, you would know. Look, my striker or my attacker wants the ball. I better try and get it to him, and that's exactly what happened when on that Martinelli cross. He was calling for it. Like a minute before that, he had his hand up at the 18s, calling for it. Going,
yeah, that's a good point. We talk about service, and it could be easy to fall into the trap of Martinelli got perfect service from Was it from Chambers or no? It was Odegaard.
Yeah, Odegaard. Yeah.
And and Aubameyang didn't get that kind of service, but the way that the guy's making that run is from hearing from him, seeing that run being made, getting being used to it happening on a regular basis, and not getting service. This is the whole thing about Aubameyang. He needs the perfect service, whereas Lacazette, Pepe, the guy, these guys are Martinelli. They're starting to show that they'll force the game. They'll give the different looks to the defenders that cause them to be in a position to get the ball and score. Whereas Aubameyang, isn't doing that at the moment. He's been good at doing that, but he's not. And I just don't want to get left holding the bag with him anymore. We've been through this so many times where we just try to rehabilitate situations that are clearly headed in the wrong direction, and we try and we try and we try, and ultimately it just reaches a point where, do we freeze him out because his contract has performance bonuses in it, and based on playing, and we don't want him to get those. We don't want him to. That's got to be what happened with Ozil. He must have been on $350 a week if he played, $250 a week if he didn't. And I would imagine maybe Aubameyang has something similar in his contract. And if that's the case, we're going to see another Ozil situation with different individuals behind it.
I think that would really backfire. If my perspective of who's popular in the dressing room, and like Ozil for me was more like a very small clique within the locker room. So I think he had
those guys like hypnotized to him though.
Yeah. I looked at them like the minority, like the clique there, versus Alba in the dressing room has the majority of the backing. That's kind of how I see it. That would be an incredibly ballsy move to say the very least. I would be truly surprised.
Yeah, and then because you're inviting another rift where you have players that are like, if this happens to Alba,
he might have the friends in the locker room, but his performances, at some point you got to say, I understand we're buddies and all, but you're just not pulling your weight, So, and you're the captain and you're all of this. And
whilst we're discussing Aubameyang, Gary, look, personally, I liked him a little bit more out wide. I thought he was getting a few more looks and, definitely a few more goals. I understand that he had way more personal issues this season. Is that something that crosses your mind at all? Like, what was your perspective? Because I know a lot of fans, when he was playing out wide on the left before Willian came in, he, let me pronounce the N very good for Mikey, Willian came in to play on the left wing. Alba was out there and playing fairly good. And, it seemed to me, at least, he was getting a little bit more of the ball and was a little bit more involved. Is that something you would even consider? Like, let's say we give Balogun more chance, Lacazette stays for one more year, or even if we buy a striker, is that something you think could actually give Alba's career in Arsenal like a second chance, if you will?
I just don't. I don't think wherever we put him, it's going to work for him. I think we've changed our scheme altogether. That he just doesn't fit. I mean, the things that he offers, he can't do on the wing, and what we want him to do up top, he doesn't do. I mean, Lacazette does a lot of the work, but he doesn't. He won't score for us, right? But he works so hard that he does create what I believe are.
You mean our leading goal scorer of the season?
Yeah, no, but he creates more opportunities for everybody around him. Aubameyang gets in there and he just clogs up that whole middle.
Well, if Aubameyang's playing on the wing, if Aubameyang's playing on the wing, then you don't have Saka and Pepe playing on the wing.
I know, and that's you're punishing them for what? I mean, you're punishing them.
You just can't have that. I mean,
think about it. There were 2 runs by Saka today, right through the middle, and you're like, that's supposed to be Aubameyang getting on the end of those, and Saka coming up behind him as maybe he crosses it back, but Aubameyang's behind him when he's going for the run. You're like, wait a second, what's going on here? You're a striker. You're supposed to be up top.
Go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say these situations where you freeze out a player and then the locker room gets divided. That happens when the player is kind of in but out of the team, but still on your books. When you get shipped off to another team, that generally just goes away. You're like, okay, that's out of sight, out of mind. So, again, another reason why I would rather sell him this summer, just rip the Band-Aid off, as it were. And that way you don't have a situation where you're in October, November saying Aubameyang's throwing a strop because he's not getting starts, he's not getting the armband anymore, blah blah blah. Just send him away with appreciation and affection, and then promote Tierney to captain, and let's just move forward.
Well, I mean, think about it. I feel like if he couldn't control Guendouzi, then he's not going to be able to control Aubameyang if things go sour, right? And he doesn't fit. And so I think it's easy, to get him out in the summer window. He'll be happier because it won't happen.
I mean, it's not going to happen.
But that's what they need to do, because he's going to be in that same situation that where he was with Guendouzi, where he can't control the situation. He likes things a little bit clean, and it's going to get a little messy, I think, if like you said, if he doesn't play Aubameyang and he's sulking there on the sidelines on the bench, right, when he doesn't play, because he doesn't.
There's a little bit of that when he gets subbed out, and that. Yeah. Speaking of messy, I want to finish off the pod with this. Have you heard about our new Kenyan starlet that we just signed? 10-year-old Kenyan superstar Leo Meso. I kid you not. The guy, kid you not, no pun intended. The guy is 10. He's
the guy. The guy is 10.
The geezer's 10. His name is literally Leo Meso. And he just signed a contract with Arsenal. I mean, how much pressure could you possibly put on a 10-year-old kid?
No big. It's a lifetime contract to start off with.
Wow.
With incentives for his first years in the academy.
We also signed Christian Ronaldo, and I think we're going to be going after Robert Lewandowski pretty soon, and and we're going to have the greatest team in 15 years from now.
And Polo, right? As a Polo coming in,
Mikey,
as well.
when you get off this pod, go ask Jake what a regen is in FIFA, and you're gonna laugh. You're gonna laugh even more with what you're saying right now, because that's what it sounds like. All these names you're giving out.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, our team. This is why we don't need Odegaard, because we've got Leo Meso coming through the ranks. I'm literally, if we're lucky enough, if I'm lucky enough to A, still be alive, B, still be doing this podcast in about 7 or 8 years, and get to watch Leo Meso make his debut for the Arsenal senior team, I am going to absolutely have fulfilled any kind of dream that I wanted to have.
I got something. So what would your message be to Leo Messo?
To Leo Messo?
Yeah.
Get out while you still can.
Run. That's plain and simple. Run.
This is going to be the newest thing, and the chat's already hopped on it. Terry,
dude.
Henry,
Darren Reed found the Mexican. Found the Mexican Kevin De Bruyne.
We need to have an all 11 of Leo Messo and his mates, and I'm going to start working on that tonight. Because this could be the greatest thing ever. Because now kids, I mean, I guess it's not just starting with 10-year-olds. Like, and now you have adults who are named after, legendary football players. But I mean, the time where Leo Messi and Ronaldo and Neymar and Mbappe and all that, the time where kids are going to start having these names, where everyone's going to be named Killian all of a sudden, or like Neymar Goldstein. From Long Island, is going to be like in about 5 or 10 years when these kids finally start becoming good at football. So I did hear that Rooney's kid Kai Rooney had like 3 goals and 3 assists in a Manchester United youth team game. So I think he's pretty good. Zinedine Zidane, if he doesn't make it in football, he can do a podcast from a car, from a sedan, and. Yeah, we're doing this. So yeah, tweet us your first Neymar Goldstein. His last name isn't even Goldstein, and he's naming his firstborn Neymar Goldstein.
Our chat room is rising to the occasion. They're ready for this, Mike. They've been waiting for this their whole lives, to be honest.
Yeah, keep Dan Burkemp. I think Daniel Shaw said so. Yeah, please keep these coming because I'm gonna die laughing when I collect these. Tweet them out to me at the Gooners Pod, and I think we're going to wrap up now. It's been almost 2 hours. I got my Washington Capitals are on in the playoffs, and I'm missing it, which is unusual. So I'm going to switch gears, switch sports. Gary, great to have you on, buddy.
Thanks for having me on, Mike and Mike, Magic Mike.
Mikey, thanks for hopping on and being my co-host for the day. For a while there, I thought my internet was going to make me crap out halfway through the show. So.
Me too. That's what I told my wife. I told her I'm going to hop on just in case Mike's internet goes to shit because it started in the Highbury squad. And I was like,
it wasn't working well there either. I don't know what it is. My internet is like the numbers are extremely strong, but it like craps out for 5 seconds and then comes back in. I don't know why, but tomorrow I might just tomorrow I might have to podcast from the basement where I can hook myself up with the cable, because the wired internet, because I can't afford for that one to go upside down. So please join us tomorrow. I actually put up the links. I'm very creative. I actually made a special domain for this. So if you want to get the first part of the show, it's part1.football. That is actually a link. www.part1.football. That'll take you to the Highbury squad. And part 2 is www.part2.football. And that'll take you to the show. Please come. Please enjoy. Please donate to Gooners versus Cancer. And please have a wonderful evening. And with that, I bid you gentlemen adieu. Come on, you Gooners.